Alright, so it was 2009, it was summer break. I just went through 8th grade, finally through middle school. And my dad, he bought this like vinyl printer thing so I can make signs. So I started this kind of, no one's here at the tax office work there, right? Cool. So I started this under the table sign shop. I was making banners and stuff for my dad's friends. I was pocketing like $50 a week as an 8th grader, so I mean, I was spending money like crazy. I was buying junk food at the gas station, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was fun. My dad ran an insurance business, and he just sold a policy to this guy that drives this huge truck, and I was looking at the truck, and I'm like, whoa, that's cool. And the guy asked me to do some vinyl work on his door, and I'm like, okay, sure. So he's like, all right, I'm a big Aggie fan, so I want it in maroon, and I want white, I want flames, and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. And I go home, and I design all this stuff. I'm like, oh, crap, I don't have any maroon vinyl. So like, I was at my parents' office the next day. It's a Wednesday, and the guy wanted this done by Friday. So I'm like, hey, Dad, let's go to Regal Plastics, the place where I get all my stuff. And he's like, oh, I can't go today, man. I got appointments, and Mom's booked up. I was like, all right. So I had to call my last resort, and I called my chauffeur back then. It was my older brother. And so I call him. I'm like, hey, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, I got work at like 4. So I'm like, all right, hey, you want to make 20 bucks? He's like, depends what I have to do. So I'm like, drive me to Regal Plastics. He's like, you give me 25 bucks and lunch. I'll think about it. I was like, okay. So he calls me back like an hour later, and it's 4 o'clock. They close at 5. So he's like, all right, I'll do it. So he drives this like 1995 Jeep Cherokee. It was like a tank, really. It's really ugly and loud. So I hear him pulling around the corner, burning out, you know, just obnoxious as hell. So I get in the car, and I'm 13, about to turn 14, and probably wasn't the smartest, but we pull out our cigarettes, thinking we're cool, blasting country music, you know, driving really fast, just being really obnoxious. My brother driving, like, riding tailgates, passing people on the shoulder. Like, who does this stuff? Like, watch out if you ever see him. He drives a Mustang now, so it's even worse. Alright, so I get there, and this was my first time going to Regal Plastics alone, and it's just like this huge warehouse, and it just has this little office, it has this like glass thing where they keep all the expensive stuff. So I walk in there, and they have like 2 or 3 other people there helping. I'm standing in like the corner with my hands in my pockets waiting for somebody to help me. And I'm standing there for like 5 minutes, and I'm nervous because I've never been here before, and all it is just adults. And finally, this sweet little old lady, she's been working there forever, and she's probably the best salesman they have because she's so old and so nice. And she's like, how can I help you, honey? I'm like, oh, she called me honey. And then I'm like, all right, I need vinyl, I need masking tape, all this stuff. So she's like, okay, let me ring that up. So I'm standing there. I go back in the corner, like I walk away from the desk because I'm just, I don't know, I'm nervous. And I had a brand new checkbook. I've never written a check because my parents gave me $500 to start this thing. So I'm ready to write my check, and she's like, all right, that'll be $110. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I pull out my checkbook, and I don't know, I've never written a check before, so I see like date, memo, all this stuff. I'm like, okay, here's the date. I wrote the wrong date. I wrote 2008, and it was 2009, so I had to scratch a check. But at that time, I didn't realize that checks actually cost money. Like, you have to buy checks to spend money. That didn't make sense to me. So I'm writing this check, and this is my first time writing a check for Regal Plastics. So I'm writing the R, and I'm looking up at their sign, like every letter, R, E, G, A, L, okay, plastic. I was like, oh, there's an S, okay, cool. So I go to sign this check, and I didn't know if you're supposed to do that, like kind of like cool little squiggly signature. So I like grab it and like the pen and I like fist it. I go just like C O N R A D J O N S E. I put a dot at the end. I thought that was the cool thing to do. So put a dot at the end and be like, yeah, you're done. That's your name. You're cool. But I guess it was. I don't know. So she's like, can you pull out your driver's license? I need to write your driver's license. Oh, I'm 13. I'll have one. She's like, do you know your dad? So I was like, no. She's like, well, let me talk to my manager. I don't know if I can take this check. She's like, she goes back and she talks to the guy. And this place looks like The Office, the TV show. So she goes and talks to Steve Carell in the back. And like, he cracks a joke. He's like, oh, he's 13. Let's just take the check, see what happens. But he didn't realize it was $100. I mean, we got $100, whatever, you know. So she comes back, and like Dwight Howard's in the corner with his glasses just typing away at his desk, and he looks hilarious. Because I'm just like, oh, this looks like The Office, man. This is legit. So she's like, okay, I can take a check. So I'm cutting this check, right? And like the perforated paper is separating. I'm like, whoa, I'm writing checks, I'm paying bills, I got patches of peach fuzz on my chest, my face, all this stuff. I'm cool, right? I'm tall, about to be in high school, I'm gonna drive in a couple years, I'm gonna buy my own car because I have money. And I'm writing this check, and I'm just like, I'm just an everyday guy. I'm gonna be complaining, bitching about paying taxes in a couple years, but hey, grown ass man.